trusted my husband with every penny of my inheritance money left to me after my parents died. I thought we were building a future together, but then I found out he used it to support another woman and their secret baby. He begged for forgiveness, called it a mistake, but I had a plan and he never saw it coming. After my parents passed away, in a tragic car accident, I was left with more than just grief. I inherited their life savings, the house I grew up in, and a sizable amount of stock investments they had quietly built over the years. It was heartbreaking, but it was also their final gift to me. I wanted to use that gift wisely, to build something meaningful. At the time, my husband Jason had just launched a tech startup. He was struggling to keep it afloat. He had big dreams, he always did, but not enough capital to keep things moving. We sat at our small kitchen table late one night, sipping wine and dreaming together. Jason looked me in the eye and said, "Babe, if you invest in me, I swear I'll turn this into something huge. For us. For our future." And just like that, I transferred the money. Every last cent of my inheritance. No lawyers, no contracts, just love and trust. The first few months felt hopeful. Jason started working long hours, staying out late, networking, and even hired a small team. He said he was pitching investors, meeting potential clients, grinding day and night. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? But then small things started to feel off. He became more secretive with his phone, always setting it face down. He changed his passwords without telling me, claiming it was just business stuff. He'd disappear on weekends, saying he had to clear his head or focus on development. One evening I noticed a notification pop up on his laptop while he was in the shower. It was from someone named Mira. The message said, "The baby's almost here. Do you think she suspects anything?" My heart dropped. I didn't want to believe what I was reading. Surely there had to be a mistake. Maybe Mira was a friend, or maybe the message wasn't meant for him. But deep down I already knew. I started digging. Quietly. I went through his emails when he forgot to log out one night. There were dozens receipts for baby supplies, payments to a private maternity clinic, even hotel bookings under different names. Mira wasn't just someone he knew. She was the other woman. And she was pregnant. No, she had already given birth. I felt physically ill. All the sacrifices I had made, all the money I had poured into his dream thinking we were in this together, had actually gone into building a secret life behind my back. I confronted him the next day. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just placed the printed emails on the table and asked how long he crumbled, collapsed into a chair, and started sobbing. He admitted everything, said it was a mistake, that he never meant for it to happen, that Mira was a fling that got out of hand. He begged me not to leave, said he still loved me, that the baby wasn't planned, that he was just trying to do the right thing by supporting them. I said nothing. I just nodded, told him I needed time to think. But what I really needed was a plan. While he thought I was cooling off and coming around, I started pulling my name out of every legal tie to him and the company. I contacted a lawyer quietly, moved my remaining personal funds into a separate account, and began collecting evidence of financial misuse proof that he had used my inheritance under false pretenses. I acted like everything was fine. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I even kissed him goodnight, and he believed every second of it. In the weeks that followed, I played the role of the forgiving wife, I didn't scream. I didn't threaten divorce. I didn't even bring up Mira or the baby again. Instead, I smiled more. I cooked his favorite meals. I even went with him to his company's little networking events, dressed up and standing by his side like nothing had happened. Jason thought he'd won. He thought his crocodile tears had worked, that I was the kind of woman who would move on in the name of love. But I wasn't. I was the kind of woman who planned in silence and made sure every betrayal was paid for in full. Behind the scenes, I was busy. I met with my lawyer twice a week. We combed through every transfer I had made into Jason's business, every promise he had made in writing, every false statement. Turns out, Jason had never formally filed me as a partner or investor in his company. Everything was in his name, convenient for me, but fatal in court when you misuse someone else's money. I had the receipts, emails, and even voice recordings of him acknowledging my investment. The next step was bleeding the business dry, quietly. I had access to the company bank account, something he had forgotten to revoke in his rush to look like a trustworthy husband again. I didn't touch the money directly. That would be traceable. But I started redirecting small monthly payments, legally mine, into a side account. Consultant fees, loan repayments, all documented, all above board. I also called in favors from a few business contacts I had through my parents. A quiet word here and there, and suddenly, Jason's potential investors began pulling out. One by one, partnerships fell through. Contracts were delayed or canceled. Jason blamed the economy. He blamed his staff. He blamed everything except the woman sleeping beside him every night. Meanwhile, I visited Mira. Yes, that Mira. She was shocked to see me on her doorstep. She looked tired, frazzled. The baby was maybe 3 months old. At first, she slammed the door in my face, but I waited. I sat on the steps outside for hours, until she opened it again. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I just want the truth." And she gave it to me. Jason had told her I was out of the picture, that we were separated, even divorcing. He said he wanted to be with her but needed time. He was paying her rent, baby expenses, everything, and stringing her along the whole time. Mira was just another pawn, just like me. I didn't pity her, but I didn't hate her either. We were both victims of the same man. And now we were both done playing nice. 2 weeks later, Jason's company was hanging by a thread. Employees were quitting. Vendors weren't being paid. His credit cards were maxed out. And still, he had no idea how it was all unraveling. He came home one night, more stressed than usual, slammed his laptop shut, and collapsed on the couch. "I just don't understand," he groaned. "It's like the universe is against me." I handed him a drink and sat next to him, rubbing his shoulders. "Maybe you should take a break," I said sweetly. "Clear your head. Go visit your son for a few days." His eyes widened. You're okay with that?" I smiled. "Of course. Family is important, right?" As Jason packed his suitcase, he kept thanking me. "I knew you'd understand," he said, kissing my forehead. "I swear, once I sort all this out with Mira, we'll move past everything. We'll be stronger than ever." I just nodded. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. The second he walked out the door, I went to work. I wasn't just going to make him hurt. I was going to make sure he had nothing left to hide behind. The first thing I did was contact his landlord. Jason's company had leased an overpriced office space downtown. I posed as the CFO and informed them that we were terminating the lease due to insolvency. Then I called in the last card I had left my parents' former attorney. He was sharp, ruthless, and loved taking down arrogant men in suits. We filed a fraud claim against Jason that same afternoon. I submitted every document. I had email trails, bank transfers, voice memos where Jason explicitly said, "It's your inheritance, but it'll help the company, babe. I'll pay you back tenfold." The fraud claim triggered a temporary freeze on Jason's business accounts. His company's already failing cash flow gone. While he posted selfies on Instagram, smiling with his newborn like he was father of the year, I was sending dissolution notices to his board. I wasn't listed as an official shareholder, but the paper trail proved I was a major investor. And investors have rights, especially when fraud is involved. By the time Jason returned home, everything had changed. He walked into a quiet house. I was sitting at the dining table, a thick manila envelope in front of me. He looked tired, but hopeful. "How was the trip?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Good. The baby's growing so fast. Mira's trying her best. I think things are stabilizing." "Great," I replied, "because you'll need all the support you can get." I slid the envelope across the table. "You've been served." He blinked. "What fraud? Misuse of funds? Financial deception?" I stood up. "You're being sued. And the company, it's done. Accounts frozen. Lease terminated. Staff gone." His face went pale. You did this. I trusted you." I said, my voice low, but steady. "I gave you everything. You didn't just cheat on me, Jason. You stole from me, lied to me, built your future on my family's grave." He stood up, panicking now. "We can fix this. We can talk, please. Just..." "No." I cut him off. "You don't talk your way out of this. You're going to court, and you're going to lose." He lunged for the envelope, flipping through the documents. His hands trembled. "You can't prove half of this. I can prove more than you think. And even if I couldn't..." I smiled. "Mira's on my side now. She's giving a statement." His jaw dropped. "She what?" "She knows everything. And she's tired of your lies, too." Jason collapsed into the chair, defeated. I turned to walk away, but stopped at the door. "Oh, and one more thing," I said over my shoulder. "The house. My name's the only one on the deed now. You'll need to find somewhere else to sleep." That night, he stayed in a hotel. 2 weeks later, the court date arrived. Jason tried to play the victim, claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that I had voluntarily given him the money without terms. But the judge didn't buy it. Not after seeing the evidence. Not after hearing Mira's testimony. The court ruled in my favor. Jason was found guilty of financial fraud. I was awarded ownership of all remaining business assets, what little was left. More importantly, the judge transferred full ownership of the house to me permanently. Jason walked out of the courtroom a broken man. No company, no house, no credibility. I didn't celebrate, not outwardly at least. but the quiet satisfaction that stayed with me for a long, long time. He thought he could betray me and walk away unscathed. But he forgot one thing. I wasn't the woman he lied to anymore. I was the woman who made him pay for every single lie. The day after the court ruling, I woke up alone in my house. My house. There were no more lies echoing in the hallways, no late-night texts from clients lighting up a hidden phone, no fake apologies or forced smiles over dinner. It was just me, the morning sun pouring through the windows, and a silence I hadn't felt in years. But this silence, it was peaceful, empowering. Mine. In the beginning, I thought I'd fall apart once the storm passed. I had braced myself for the loneliness, the sadness, the regret. But when it finally hit, I didn't break. I breathed. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. The days that followed weren't easy. I had to sort through years of shared finances, cancel old accounts, and undo the mess Jason had left behind. His name was still on some of our old bills, and I had to call customer service lines more times than I could count. But each time I crossed something off that list, I felt stronger, more in control. I also started therapy. It was something I'd always brushed off before. "I'm fine," I used to say. "It's not that serious." But it was serious, because somewhere along the way, I had lost myself. I'd become the woman who tolerated deception, who smiled through betrayal, who put someone else's dream above her own. And I didn't want to be her anymore. In therapy, I learned how to reclaim my voice. I processed the guilt, the anger, and the shame I never even realized I was carrying. And then I let it go. I also reconnected with old friends I had slowly drifted away from. Friends Jason didn't like friends. He said we're too opinionated or too independent. They welcomed me back with open arms. No questions. No judgment. Just love. And then there was Mira. A month after the court ruling, she invited me to coffee. I wasn't sure I was ready, but I went anyway. She looked less guarded. We talked for hours. About the lies he told, the promises he broke, and the future we were both rebuilding. She said I used to think you were the enemy. But now I know we were both just women trying to love the wrong man. We weren't friends, not exactly. But we had a strange kind of sisterhood, now a shared survival. Meanwhile, Jason had all but disappeared. I heard through the grapevine that he tried to start a new company, but no one would invest. His reputation was ruined. His credit destroyed. I didn't take pleasure in his downfall. Not anymore. Because I had already won. Not just in court. Not just financially. I had won me back. 6 months after the divorce, I took the last chunk of my reclaimed money and started something I had dreamed about for years, my own business. A consulting firm for women investing in startups, especially those investing in partners or family. I named it Phoenix Rise, because like the mythical bird, I had burned to ashes, but come back stronger. The first few clients were referrals from friends. Then word spread. Women from all walks of life. Doctors, teachers, stay-at-home moms came to me with stories eerily similar to mine. Some had given everything to their husbands' ventures and been left with nothing. Some were still in the middle of it, unsure of what to do next. All of them were looking for someone who understood. And I did. Every single word. Business took off. Not because I was the best on paper, but because I had lived it. I knew the red flags, the emotional manipulation, the financial traps. I taught women how to protect themselves, how to ask the right questions, how to build something without losing themselves in the process. My pain became my purpose. A year after Jason walked out of my life, I stood in front of a small crowd at a women's entrepreneur event and shared my story publicly for the first time. I was shaking when I started, but halfway through I looked out at the faces in the audience, and I saw tears, nods, silent strength. They got it. They got me. Afterward, a woman in her 60s came up to me and said, "You just told my story. I wish I had been brave enough to do what you did." That moment stayed with me, because bravery doesn't always look like shouting in court or slamming doors. Sometimes it looks like silence, strategy, stillness. Sometimes it looks like standing up from the ashes with your head held high. I don't miss Jason. I don't wonder how he's doing. He was the lesson. I am the legacy. So, if you're watching this right now, and you're in a situation that feels like it's swallowing you whole, please remember, you are not weak for loving. You are not foolish for trusting. But you are powerful when you choose yourself. And when you rise, no one, not a man, not a lie, not a betrayal, can stop you. 3 years have passed since I took back my life. 3 years since I said goodbye to the man who once convinced me that love meant sacrifice only mine, say, or his. And now when I look around, everything feels different because it is. My home is no longer a place where I tiptoe around tension. It's filled with laughter music and Sunday morning pancakes, sometimes with friends, sometimes just with myself, and a good book. And I'm okay with that. My company, Phoenix Rise, has grown beyond what I ever imagined. We now have a full team, mostly women, mostly survivors of financial abuse or betrayal, who are rewriting their stories through work that empowers others. We've helped over 200 clients protect their investments, regain control of their finances, and launch successful businesses. And every time a client signs her name on a contract, she fully understands on terms that work for her. I feel like I'm watching another version of myself win. Not the broken version, not the betrayed wife, but the woman who walked through hell and came out holding the blueprint. The media picked up my story last fall. A journalist contacted me after seeing a viral clip of my speech. At first, I was hesitant. I didn't want to become that woman with the cheating husband. But then, I realized I'm not that woman anymore. I'm the woman who rebuilt. And there's no shame in that. The article sparked a wave of emails from women around the country, some offering support, others seeking it. That's when I started a podcast called Built from the Burn. It's raw, unfiltered, and filled with stories like mine, messy, painful, but ultimately empowering. One day, while checking messages for the podcast, I received something unexpected. A handwritten letter from Mira. She'd moved out of state, started a new life with her son, and was working at a nonprofit that helps young single mothers get back on their feet. She wrote, I thought being the other woman made me powerful, but it only made me broken. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. Your grace gave me a second chance. I hope I'm making good on it. I cried reading it, not from sadness, but because I realized something important. Justice doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like redemption. As for Jason, I haven't seen him since the court date. He pops up on LinkedIn occasionally, under a different company name every few months, still chasing shortcuts, still pretending nothing ever happened. But that's his path, not mine. I've stopped checking on him, not out of bitterness, just indifference, because the real closure didn't come from seeing him lose, it came from watching me win. Today, I'm dating again, not rushing, not settling. This time I lead with self-respect, not blind loyalty. I've learned that love is not about saving someone. It's about choosing someone who already respects your value. And if I never find that again, I'm still whole. I'm still home. To anyone out there listening, whether you're in the thick of betrayal or standing in the quiet after it, you are more than what someone did to you. You are not defined by what broke you, but by what you build next. You deserve peace that doesn't require permission. You deserve success that isn't tied to someone else's shadow. You deserve love that doesn't ask you to shrink. So here's to every woman rising from her own ashes, not just to survive, but to thrive. If this story moved, you don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. We share real, raw stories about love, betrayal, strength, and healing because you're not alone, and your voice matters. Join our growing community by subscribing to Family Story, My Husband, where every woman's truth is heard, honored, and empowered. Your story could be next.